Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to a taboo-breaking book haul. I have had a weird relationship with book hauls for pretty much the entirety of my channel. I did one forever ago before I even understood how to put the picture of a book floating on the screen, so I'm pretty sure it was just awkward pictures in a sea of black. If I have any self-respect, that's been delisted, but I can't remember. Regardless, I do consume books. I do get them in a variety of ways, and I've always thought about, could I do a book haul? Why do they give me the ick? And I suddenly realized that the only way I could feel comfortable doing a book haul is by breaking several Booktube taboos. And let's talk about what they are real quick. The first taboo is the smallest, and that is I will be including digital copies in these hauls. I know a lot of people don't include digital copies of anything in these kind of read down your TBR challenges, but I already included them when I did my 0 TBR, which I did beat last year. I'm going to keep bragging about it, but regardless, these are books I own. Now, obviously, if they were off a place like Libby or Kindle Unlimited, if I ever used KU, I wouldn't include them because they are clearly borrowed. But for my part, even books that are DRM attached, like Kindle, that could technically be taken out of my library, I'm going to keep on the list because until that happens, I own them long term. And honestly, the longer time goes on, the more I look to sites that don't have DRM attached. Sites like if you go to an indie press's website or certain secondhand bookstores like Haymarket will just sell you DRM-free digital copies that you just have on your hard drive. I also get a lot of copies from authors that just send me the files. So I do have a very large amount of digital copies that I just have, and I need to include them as regular books to make sure they get read. I did debate whether or not to put NetGalley arcs on here because technically after a certain set period of time they will be taken out of your NetGalley shelf, and I am including them purely because one, it's a very long time, it's a much longer allowance than say your average library, and also because I want to get my NetGalley ratio higher. So keeping it included in the front of my mind will make sure that I actually get to those books. And also, if you see those books in these hauls and you're interested in them, you can be on the lookout for the review that will hopefully come sometime in the next few months after they're hauled. I'm trying to keep books on my TBR for only about 3 to 6 months. It's been a little bit rocky, but right now I'm doing good. The next taboo I will be breaking is I will be talking about what percentage of the books I've hauled have I read. I know that old joke of, oh, reading books and buying books are two separate hobbies. Not for me. I have been endeavoring to be a mindful consumer, and that means your purchasing habits need to mirror your usage habits and not the other way around. So, while I likely will not have read most of the books I haul in any given month, I hope to have at least read a few of them, and I will also be talking about how many books have I hauled over the course of the entire year, and what percentage of those have I read so far. Now, my goal is to keep it at 75%. Not exactly there at the moment. I have hauled 101 and I have read 73. Editing Margaret here. A couple points of clarification. The 73 number counts for read or DNF'd, and those are only books that have been read or DNF'd that I have also gotten this year. So books that I borrowed from the library or got last year aren't added in that number. I've actually read more than that this year, but also I kind of forgot to do the actual percentage for that. I think I kind of just assumed everyone else would understand, but the actual percentage of that math is 72%. So still not where I'd want it to be, but very close. So we're a little bit under where I had hoped to be, but not by very much. And I will probably be going on a book getting ban in August, where I will refrain from getting any books, free or otherwise, unless probably it's a review copy. Because for some reason, come late summer, early fall, review requests tend to pick up. I don't know what hidden seasonal things are going on because I read indie and self-pubbed, so it's not like it's an industry thing. It's not like it's a suits in the boardroom thing. I don't know. If you are an indie author that understands why that seasonal occurrence happens, please let me know, because every year I swear I despair at getting very few indie requests over the summer and then I explode with them in the fall, and I don't know why. The last taboo we will be breaking is money. I am going to be talking a lot about money, how much the books cost, how much the total for the month was, and what the average for each book was based on that total. My goal is not so much based on the total, although I did try a thrifty reader challenge at one point. $30 max was just way too low, even for me. My actual goal is to keep the average per book at $5 or less. This means if I go to that awesome local queer indie bookstore and get a book for $20, I will then expect my next 3 or 4 books to either be very cheap or outright for free as a review request or from the little free library, what have you, so that the average will always be under $5. That's also because I want to get a large amount of secondhand or e-copies because yeah, you can still hurt the environment badly by over-consuming books bought new. Buying a large amount of new things is still damaging, even if it's books, unfortunately. So we are trying to be as secondhand and digital as possible, and that average will hopefully remind me to stick to that more than buying fancy full-priced books. All that being said, let's jump into the actual haul. I will be going in chronological order, in order of having hauled them. So, what did I get this month? First up is Mr. Warren's Profession by Sebastian Nothwell. I got this on July 1st because my 24-hour readathon was not going well. I'd spent a large portion of my day on a 1-star, and I needed an author that I knew I liked. So I went to Itch.io. This was before all their bullshit went down, and bought this for $3.99, and I loved it. I continue to love the way that this author writes gay pining, the superior pining, and the historic attention to detail in that not only is it set in the Victorian era, but like it's dealing directly with concepts from that time rather than just being sprinkled on top. Our poor man protagonist falling in love with the rich man who is completely unaware of the entire community of quote-unquote inverts that he is a part of, there even is one, and having to navigate being a queer man in a homophobic Victorian England, but also our poor man protagonist just like being so obsessed with this newfangled electricity thing. But most importantly, what I have learned about this author is he loves to take his impoverished twink characters and put them through hell so they can then be nursed back to health by a hot dude that's absolutely obsessed with them, and it is the most peak hurt comfort thing ever. I love it. I am eagerly awaiting book 3 of Oak King, Holly King, and I will probably be getting that like the second it comes out. Up next is another ebook that I bought and already read, and that is Acedia, I think, by Colette Rhodes. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the names of most of these titles, but this is the 7th and final book in the Shades of Sin series, which is a monster romance series following tensions between a group of monsters called Shades and the humanesque Hunters. And of course, they all end up, falling in love with each other. The second half of this series isn't nearly as strong as the first half. Like, oh man, book 1, it was so strong. And the second half of this series it's just retreading a lot of water, let's be honest. It's just retreading a lot of the same plot points that happened earlier in the series, so it wasn't as strong. But I did get this off Amazon, and technically in my, system, it's considered free because I get a lot of gift cards from donating blood. And when I do, I always ask for the gift card to be to Amazon, and I just leave it there until I need a new book. I don't get anything else off Amazon. And I haven't even been getting a lot of books off there, to be honest. I've been moving more and more away from it, to the extent that currently I have over $100 in Amazon gift cards from donating blood, which, mind you, you can only donate blood every 2 months. So that's how often I'm not getting books off there. But I foresee that I actually might have to slow down donating blood a little bit, just because there were some issues with my red blood cell count from repeat donations, because for years I've never missed a chance. I've been donating the max you can every year, and after a while that just kind of is a little too much on your body, so they will force you to take longer breaks. But even then, I will probably have to up the amount I'm spending just to use up those gift cards. But just trying to finish out the Dungeon Crawler Carl series will probably take care of most of that. Up next is Clipped by KQ Watson. This is a review request about an angel whose son is considered defective. I believe, if I remember correctly, he was born without wings and so was sent down from Earth, and his father is like, if you're sending him down, send me down too. And so our angel dad ends up in dystopian Earth trying to track down his lost son. I am told that it is very dark, very intense, but I am a pastor's kid, and sometimes you just gotta relive that religious trauma. Up next is another review request. I tend to leave them sitting in my inbox until I'm prepared to accept or reject a large batch of them, and that is Struggle for Existence by Jeff Jones. This is the sequel to Rule of Extinction, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic story about a group of humans that had to escape Earth because giant comet coming, in these strange silvery paws that just came down from the sky. And they were taken to somewhere by someone. And the ending of book 1 had a big reveal on whether or not they're rescued or in captivity, and who was doing it and why. I am hoping for more fun with book 2. I did get the audiobook copy for free, as well as a text copy on the side. I always ask for a text copy when I get an audiobook request, just because it's helped with, like, note-taking purposes. I am hoping for more of the mystery, because book 1 had a little too much emphasis on, like, generic humans go crazy at the end of the world storylines, and I wanted more emphasis on the mystery of why are they there? Who took them? Where even are they? And so I'm hoping book 2 will have more of that. And also, it was just a great audiobook narrator for the first one, so I'm hoping for more of the same. Up next is a NetGalley pick, and that is Patchwork by Maddie Ballard. It has been so long since I've gotten a NetGalley book because I have a one-in, one-out system where I do not ask for another NetGalley arc until I have reviewed the one I have. But because I wanted to literally hand sew a skirt for the last one I had, video in the description, it took me a while to get to this one, but we have gone with Patchwork by Maddie Ballard because I'm just going to be working my way through all of their sewing books. And this is a memoir that is also sewing in theme, and I believe it is going to be the author both talking about their life in general, but also their sewing journey and how that reflects their life. So I'm expecting a lot of things like, this is what I made at this point in my life, and this is the project that represents this part, which I really like. And I'm just hoping for more sewing goodness because I will continue to go back to NetGalley's Crafts and Hobbies section. Up next, I am hauling 6 books together, and that is the Otherworld series by Yasmin Gale Norn. Specifically, the first 6 books. This series was actually way longer than I anticipated when I found these. There is a local thrift store called Rehab Treasures, which has the most rock bottom prices, and all of the proceeds go to a local wildlife conservation fund. So, like, I always feel like I have to get something, you know? But even then, you're still not spending that much money because each of these books was 25 cents. 6 books for $1.50. And now, that does not mean that I would have gotten them regardless. I have learned my lesson, okay? After that Zero TBR challenge, I know that my weakness is wanting to get cheap paperbacks just because they're cheap and then not being interested in them. But when I saw this cover, and I was like, ooh, is this the schlocky urban fantasy series that I love? Because I can't explain it. There's just something about the mid-2000s urban fantasy in mass market paperbacks that have the melodramatic models on the cover, and they're always like 10 to 20 books long. And that specific vibe is my weakness. So I also looked at these books and I was like, yeah, I could just get book 1, but everyone who shops thrift stores knows that if you just get book 1 and leave all the other books in the series there, those books aren't selling for shit. And I didn't want to leave them all there. And again, 25 cents per. And so my thought process was, you know what? I'll try book 1. If I don't like it, I'll just toss it in the LFL. Our little free library has been very empty lately. Great problem to have, admittedly, but like, I have literally run out of books to unhaul there, so if these 25-cent books weren't it, I could restock it. Unfortunately, I loved it. It was some of my favorite schlocky romance tropes in that, you know, the fae don't really believe in monogamy. They do conscious non-monogamy. And it is all about a trio of sisters who are half human, half fae, trying to fight against the big bads for the loosely bureaucratic organization they work for. But they kind of all low-key suck at magic because they're half human, so like our witch character could have her spells accidentally backfire on her like constantly. That's a constant threat. Just so many things. They get a baby gargoyle as their pet. This is a world in which gargoyles aren't sentient or aren't like fully human levels of sentient, but like I was like, damn it. Nope, we're adding this to the series list. And I thought that it was like maybe 10 to 15 books long. It's 21. It's 21 books long. I added 20 books to my series finishing challenge. It had been at 46. And then I added 20. And then I did finish one. So I guess I'm still sitting at 65. But still, why do I never learn? I never learn. Up next is The Means of Reproduction by Michelle Goldberg. This is a nonfiction all about how the politics of sex and child rearing have a huge impact on global politics and how fighting for those rights does apply to fighting for other rights as well. I found this in a Yins Bins, which, if you did not know, is a company that is basically like the love child of a Goodwill Bins and an Overstock store, where they buy overstock from like online returns and all of that, and they just like put them in bins and you search through them. And depending on the day you go, the price is different. At truck day, when they unload all the new stuff, it's at its highest, and then it drops over the course of the week, so that on Friday, the day I got this, it's only 50 cents per item. So this was 50 cents. I have been trying to get more into nonfiction. I keep forgetting that I love nonfiction. Like, it's my palate cleanser a lot of the time. The only thing is that the text of this is pretty dense, so it could be a little bit of a slower read. I'm also expecting, some triggering content, but regardless, 50 cents for a pretty interesting concept. Severance by Ling Ma. This was $20 from a local queer indie bookstore called The Atlas Collective. I really wanted to succeed. It is currently succeeding very well, but it has only been here for a year, so I have decided that I am going to get one book from them a month just to make sure that it stays in business in the area. And this month it was this book, which is a dystopian satire all about a group of office workers that essentially becomes like a corporate cult in the end times. And that's about all I know about it. I had to look it up on my phone to even understand what it was about, because this is one of those bullshit copies that does not have the actual synopsis on the back. It just has all of the reviews in one tagline. I hate that. I don't need to hear what other people thought about it. I need to hear what it's about, because all it says on the back for an actual synopsis is it the end of the world or just another day at the office? Now, I've never worked in a corporate environment, so I probably won't get a lot of the jokes, but I do like that kind of satire, so I'm hoping I'll get at least a couple dry chuckles out of this one. Old Man's War by John Scalzi. I got this at another independent bookstore in Dubuque, Iowa called Riverlights, and it was again $20. I have not had as much luck with the books I've gotten in Riverlights as I have with the Atlas Collective, so I'm always a little bit iffier in shopping there, but when I saw John Scalzi, I was like, well, obviously. I have read 4 of his books so far, all of these standalones, and I love them. And of course, I have heard about Old Man's War. This is supposed to be one of his best works. It is a sci-fi series following a 75-year-old man who signs up for the army and gets his 75-year-old brain put into a younger body to go off and fight intergalactic wars. And I'm hoping that on top of all of the badass sci-fi, military sci-fi stuff, we still get a little bit of that 75-year-old curmudgeon. That's what I'm hoping for. And I do love John Scalzi's writing. His books usually read really fast for me. The downside is that does mean I will likely be adding another series to my Finish All Your Series challenges. Now, the good news is that this is also a series that I can order in through independent bookstores, and so I can use this as my I want to support independent bookstores series to both support them and get my series read down. So, 2 birds, 1 stone. Sacred Earth, Sacred Soul by John Philip Newell. I got this at Goodwill for 99 cents, and it is a nonfiction all about Celtic spirituality. Now, it is Celtic Christianity when I am a Celtic pagan. However, it did name drop Bridget in the synopsis specifically, and that is who I follow as a goddess, although I'm pretty sure I will be talking about her as a saint, but I don't mind that aspect. So even if I only get a couple tidbits from this, it will be worth the 99 cents. And worst comes to worst, again, we can pop it in the little free library. I mean, with where I live, religious stuff pops up in there all the time anyway. The Feather Thief by Kirk Wallace Johnson. This is a nonfiction I got from Goodwill for $1.99, and it is the only kind of true crime that I like, which is weird and or silly heists, okay? Learning about people genuinely suffering horrifically, not entertainment for me. Learning about why a classically trained musician decided to break into a natural history museum right after a concert to steal a bunch of bird carcasses. Yeah, tell me about that. That sounds interesting. The Peculiar Tenets of Velour Court by E.R. Robinson was $1.49 on Smashwords. I am hoping to do a Smashwords taste test for my Going Wide video series, the video series where I encourage people to shop for ebooks somewhere other than Amazon. It's been out so long that already the episode 1 had to be delisted because that provider got into some bullshit. I really need Itch.io to clean up their act. But when I was looking at this one, it again had one of my favorite tropes, which is the contemporary fantasy of a bunch of supernatural characters being put in very mundane situations. You have the peculiar tenets of Valor Court being a bunch of supernatural people whose building is about to be demolished for being, run down. And the landlord is desperately trying to get them to band together to fix things so they aren't all evicted onto the street. Now, I did read it through the first couple pages because I'm trying to make sure that I actually like the writing style of books before I buy them. And the literal, first couple pages has the landlord asking a group of pigeons for their opinions on the outfit for the day, and the pigeons had really hard opinions. So I was like, you know what? This is the vibe. I'm hoping to love this one. It is so new that I had to manually add the book to Storygraph, so hope the author doesn't mind that I added that. Regardless, I'm hoping for some good silliness. The next book that I bought for the Smashwords Taste Test for $4.99 is A Cyborg for the Alien Mercenary by Mina Carter. I got this one purely because it is an alien romance where the woman is a cyborg. Okay, I am so over alien romances where the man gets to be all the interesting stuff. Okay, let the women be cool sci-fi creatures too. This is all about an alien mercenary who is tasked with going to pick up this cyborg woman who has just woken up with amnesia and is pretty sure she's in a bad place, but she doesn't know why. But she's also dangerous. Let the women be dangerous. I'm really hopeful for this one. Low-key afraid I might be hyping it up too much, but it is the beginning of a series. Oh, so was the last one. I'm beginning so many series. My challenge is weeping. Regardless, I am struggling to find alien romances that I like anymore because 99% of them seem to be about sex trafficking and breeding to save the population. So I'm really hopeful that this one will give me something new. Archangel's Prophecy by Nalini Singh is book 11 in the Guild Hunter series, and I got this off Amazon, the ebook version, again, using the gift card, so technically for free. It is book 11, so I can't really explain the premise a lot without spoiling the ending of book 1. However, this is a world in which archangels are kind of ruling over everything, but also there are vampires, and also there are vampire hunters, and it is good schlocky fun, a lot of big over-the-top battles, and giant prophecies that are coming to fruition. I put off this book for a really long time because the premise makes me nervous and I wasn't ready for all the big emotions, but I really need to keep going because this is one of my longest series on my challenge that I still have 8 books left on, despite being at book 11. I don't even know if it's finished publishing yet. It might still be publishing, but I have heard great things about Nalini Singh's other urban fantasy romance series, so I want to get caught up on this one so that I can then go hop over to that other one as well. Now, originally I had intended to only haul 19 books in this video, but then a couple days ago, I posted on Blue Sky that I was looking for specific books for a reading challenge because I was having trouble with the prompts. I needed a book that was set in either spring or summer that was not an urban fantasy or a horror, because the 52 Book Club has a setup where you have to read 4 different books in 4 different seasons with 4 different genres. And that's the trickiest set of prompts ever. But thankfully, one of the authors that I had reviewed this year said, hey, I've got a contemporary erotica set in the summer. Would you be interested? And I was like, yes, send me the review request. And so he sent me the review request for A Neighborly Seduction by Alex Pendragon. This is about a young man who moves in next door to a house filled with hot dudes. And he's all nervous around them because he hasn't come out to them as gay and he doesn't know how they'll respond. It's an erotica. You know how they'll respond. But I loved the previous contemporary erotica I had read by Alex Pendragon. It was a lot of fun, and so I was hopeful for more of it here. And I'm actually hoping to get to it today and tomorrow and finishing it before the end of July. Not only because I still have 2 days of reading in July as I film this, but also because August is Indie August, and I would love to hit the ground running with an indie review. I'm going to go really hard for Indie August this year. I apologize for how obnoxious I'm going to be on my Blue Sky. But so getting to start the month with a review would be really helpful in that, and this sounds like a fun time. So those are all of the books I have been filming for a very long time. I did not expect it to take me this long, but I am out of practice in doing book hauls. Now it is time to talk about totals and money. So we got 20 books in July for a total of $49.96. Now, that is not including tax. Not every book had tax. In some cases, I forget to look at the tax on the actual payout online. So it's just easier to go without and ballpark it. We're not spending too much extra that way. But we spent a total of $49.96 before tax. And with 20 books, that leads to an average of $2.50, which is very nice, much where I want to be in my average. Again, with a lot of books, I will be going on a book getting ban in August, which means not only will I not buy anything, I just will not try to get any books at all while I read these down. So there will likely not be a book haul for August. And anything I do get in August for like review copies or other incidentals will probably be tacked on to September's book haul. If you're interested in that, please subscribe, hang out. Please let me know what books you got in July. Was there anything fun? Are you interested in any of these books? Have you read them? Can you give me any like info about them? Could always use more info to know what to read next. Regardless, with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.